Hey y'all, it's Brody, and today I'm here to discuss a couple of things. It's been about 8 months since my last discussion video, and I apologize for that. I know that a lot of people who watch my videos really enjoy discussion videos, and I enjoy making them. But this was one that I didn't really know how to go about doing. I am currently, if you're not aware, I just have a loss in my family. I lost my stepmom. Um, so my mental health has already been like in the toilet, and I think that's the reason I'm sitting down and making this video today, because that's kind of amplifying where my brain's at. I've been feeling really weird about BookTube and the community and all of that for a while now, and I just wanted to sit down and talk to you about it today. I put on Twitter that I wanted to do a discussion video about being lonely on BookTube and all the things that we talked about. Can you send me some talking points or questions you have, and we can discuss them that way? So it's like, instead of me talking at you, it's like us talking together. So the first one we're going to talk about is new creators versus established creators, and how new creators can go about befriending established creators. And for me, the answer is so simple, and that is, do not go into BookTube seeking friendships. I see that so often where it's like people kind of get hounded and like you throw your friendship at people. I definitely did that whenever I started. A couple of years ago, I was very much like, oh, I want to be friends with these people who I watch and I love their content and I've been engaging with in the comment section for so long, and we're gonna be best friends. And that just doesn't happen all the time. It sometimes feels like you're trying to force the friendship rather than going into making content and being a booktuber and thinking, I want to be friends with this established creator. Think of it in like, do I want to be friends with this person? And that's something we will talk about later, is being personal friends versus being like booktube acquaintances, because that's something totally different. Other questions that were asked about like being a small creator and engagement in the comments and how specifically that can contribute to feeling less lonely. For me, I feel more supported. I feel less alone whenever y'all comment. That's why I do my comment question of the day at the end of every video. That's why I do the leave an emoji or a smiley face thing at the end of every video, because it doesn't put as much pressure on commenters, I think. For me as a viewer of YouTube, whenever creators do stuff like that at the end of their video, I know I can just like leave a smiley face. I don't need to leave a whole bunch of thoughts. I just want you to know that I'm here and I watched the video and I supported you. And that's something that really helps boost me whenever I'm feeling like shit. And I know a lot of people have express that as well. I try my best to reply to comments. Like I said, lately I've been going through a really rough patch, so I haven't really been able to do that. It's a struggle, honestly, to just put up content and film and edit and get everything scheduled. Like, it's struggling. I am cramming last minute, and it's to the point where I feel like I don't have the bandwidth to reply to every single comment that I get. There are also a couple of people who asked about like being like a smaller channel, and whenever I say smaller, I'm talking like under 100 subscribers, and lack of engagement versus feeling lonely. And I can't speak to that as much. I hit 100 fairly quickly. I hit 500 fairly quickly. I feel like I hit 50 fairly quickly. And I honestly never thought I was even going to get 100 subscribers. I thought it was just going to be like me sitting down every week and talking to the same 50 people. And because I grew quickly, I feel like I don't have as much to say on that. But personally, for me, whenever I was smaller, I felt less lonely because it felt like a little more of a, not a community, but it felt more personal. And you're talking to 10 friends, right? Or 8 friends. Or you're giving like a little announcement to 20 people. That's going to feel more intimate and personal than giving a big speech in front of like 2,000 people. So I definitely understand feeling lonelier with a smaller sub count, and wanting to grow and feeling like you're being ignored. But honestly, part of me kind of treasures the days that I had that were smaller numbers. I would just say, keep engaging with people who share your views, keep engaging with people who like the same books. So many people joining this community every single day, and if people aren't giving you the time of day, then they don't deserve you anyway. Okay, another thing that got brought up a couple of times and has been a thing in BookTube for a while now is clicks in BookTube, and how clicky established creators can feel excluding newer creators. So this is definitely a thing that I have encountered. It's definitely a thing, but because I have only been here for like 3 years, I feel like I'm right on that cusp of being new and then being established. I feel like I'm right there in the center of it. So I am looking at this from both perspectives. Whenever I joined, it definitely felt like established creators were excluding me. I definitely felt like people were cliquey. Like I was like on the outskirts. So like in this scenario, I wasn't even Katie Heron. I was like the burnouts or like the weirdo kids in Mean Girls, you know, like the ones who sat at the other tables. It felt very cliquey, and I felt like, oh my god, these people are kind of stuck up and they're not going to want to be friends with me, but I'm trying so hard to be friends. And I was just kind of getting like very like polite, dismissive answers. But as someone who is, I feel pretty established in the community. Like I've been here, like I said, for about 3 years now. I've seen so many people who I respect, so many people whose content I love, so many friends leave the community almost without warning. Like they just stop posting videos and then they stop going on their book Twitter, and it's for whatever their personal reason is, and that's fine. They're entitled to that. They can go whenever they want to. But it does kind of hurt. It kind of feels like whenever you've had so many people that you consider a friend leave, your circle kind of gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're kind of scared to let people in. One's entitled to leave whenever they feel is best for them, and that's something that I support. But I do think that being, like I said, right there in the middle, I've seen so many people who I thought were amazing and so deserving of a platform get tired and leave. It's kind of like, think of it like a job, right? Like you have a bunch of new hires come in and you know your turnover rate's really high. So are you going to get attached to the new hires? And like I said, I don't speak for everyone. There are definitely people who are extremely cliquey, people who are very exclusive on this platform. But for me personally, that's the kind of general vibe that I've been experiencing. Here's the topic of loneliness through engagement versus loneliness through interaction. And these are two very different things. I would say engagement is like your sub count growing and your view count climbing and your like ratio increasing and stuff like that, versus interaction, which I would consider like comments and tweets and, you know, DMs and stuff like that. So engagement is like the numbers and interaction is more of like the one-on-one talking. I feel lonely whenever I'm not getting the interaction side of it. And like I said, it's kind of a double-edged sword because I'm very exhausted. I'm very in a bad mental place, to where it's hard to interact. And then as a viewer, I've definitely been that person where I've like left a comment and it just gets a heart but no reply, and I feel kind of discouraged and I don't want to continue to engage with that person. So I think, like I said, there's something to be said for both sides of the coin, but for me personally, whenever I'm not getting the comments or like the interactions on Twitter or whatever, that's whenever I feel lonelier. Then there was the topic of like how best to approach people to make friends, and this differs from person to person. But like I said, don't go into it with, oh my god, I want to be friends with you, you're such a big creator or whatever. Just be like, hey, I like your review. I also like this book. Oh my god, did you see the new cover reveal for whatever? Very surface level conversations. Like, I hate small talk, but a lot of the people I consider friends with on here, it happened through small talk. I would say like Wheezy from the podcast Southern Gal Reads is one of my best friends in the community, period. And we became friends like just making like native jokes at each other on Twitter. Like I would post a thread of like 100 books I want to read, and Wheezy like replied with like her thoughts on them. So I would definitely say just like approach them casually, and don't feel like you have to find your spot immediately, right? Because so many people say, oh, I want to be friends with everyone in the community, but it's not the case. You're not going to be friends with everyone in the community. Not everyone's going to want to be your friend, and you don't want to be everyone's friend. So for example, if you love horror and you want to talk about horror, then seek out horror booktubers. If you love romance, then you will find your people in the romance side of booktube. If you love literary fiction, you will find your people there. So I think it's just about seeking out like-minded people, seeking out people you want to be friends, rather than just being like, oh, these are the people that I'm subscribed to, let's be buddies. There was another response that I got that kind of upset me, it made me sad. It talked about the YouTube algorithm and disabilities, how the algorithm isn't tailored towards non-weekly uploads and all of that stuff, and how that's ableist. And this is something I've definitely encountered because, like I said, it's hard. It's really hard to pump out content every single week. And whenever you can't pump out content every single week, the algorithm will affect your engagement. So your videos aren't being seen by as many people. Your videos aren't getting shown to all of your subscribers. This mysterious algorithm that none of us really know how it works. But we have learned that if you do not put out weekly content, people will not see the content you do put out. The same person also made a reply talking about how isolating it can be that they have spoken out on a book that they found ableist content in. And after they spoke out about it, it started getting very hyped up. And y'all know this is something that I've talked about so much on my channel. Specifically, I can think of 3 things. I can think of Stephanie Meyer, Jay Kristoff, Justina Ireland, all things that I have spoken up about. And then seeing how people will twist that around and also boost those books at the same time. It sucks. It fucking sucks. Gives you an entire other discussion video on why the devil does not need an advocate. You do not have to play devil's advocate by reading books that other people say are problematic. If you don't have anything directly to add to the discussion, then you shouldn't try adding things to the discussion. The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian is another one I've been very vocal about. That one's about Native people by a Native person, but it's still harmful to Native people. So whenever you speak out about these things, and then other people say like, oh, well, I am gonna read it anyway and just make my own opinion. You have a right to that, but like, we don't need your opinion necessarily unless you can bring something else to the table. I definitely understand the frustration and how isolating that can feel, but I think it's also important to remember that like you do have people in your corner and you have other people who are feeling the same, and it's not just you. There was also a reply that talked about being from a non-English speaking country and how English speaking booktubers wouldn't really engage with them. So I will leave a link upstairs to a video by my friend Sajid talking about booktube being very US centric. Leave that video up there for you to go check out because Sajid puts my feelings into words. And it's not necessarily that booktube is currently becoming less US centric, it's that the community is saying like, okay, we're tired of this and we're not gonna let it happen anymore. That could be a very isolating feeling to try and engage with people and then just have them just not. Someone asked for me specifically to talk about the cause of loneliness in Natives today and the way that books have always been a part of the medicine cabinet, and I really like that. So as I always say, preface this by saying I can't speak for all Natives, but for me personally, a lot of loneliness has come from the feeling of not having a community, because like I have talked about, I am a reconnecting Native. Like we did things in my house growing up, but I am a reconnecting Native trying to learn more about my family background. So I kind of feel like in this society where I'll leave a link downstairs for y'all to check out, but a quote that I read that I really like talks about how Natives are already living in a dystopian society, right? Like we are living on what was formerly our land, what still should be our land, and we have had multiple attempts to wipe us out by the government. We are living in a dystopian society. There's a lot of anti-Indigenous stuff on BookTube. I've talked about that quite a bit. If you want a follow-up video, I will make a follow-up video. I've been wanting to do that for a while about more bullshit that I've dealt with. But, Natives on BookTube, and just, no, I'm gonna take that back. It's not just Natives on BookTube, it's Natives in general. There's so much shit that we have to deal with every single day. So much shit that we have to read about. We had the freaking racist mascots playing at the Super Bowl this year. We have the pretendian list that's going around. We have all of the anti-blackness in our community. The thing with the freedmen, tribal rights that are happening right now. There's so much that you watching as a non-Indigenous person probably are not aware of that we have to deal with every day. And books are one way that we can kind of sit down and connect with things, right? Books, for me personally, have been so key in reconnecting with my heritage and reclaiming my identity as a Native person, and it's been fantastic. It's been fantastic and so healing and helpful, and I'm so grateful that I have gotten the opportunities that I have gotten off of that to connect with so many amazing Native content creators and Native authors, and doing the Indigathon and highlighting Native Lit and getting to just like spread so much Indigenous excellence through the community, because that's what I strive to do every day on here. And another topic of conversation was brought up about how to create connections for yourself whenever you're feeling down and whenever you don't feel like you want to talk to anyone. And that is what I talked about earlier. I've been feeling like shit. I don't have a surefire answer for this because I struggle to reach out to people whenever I'm feeling like shit. And whenever I'm feeling lonely, I just kind of let myself stew in my loneliness instead of talking about it, which is why I'm filming this video for you today, because I want to talk about it and not just sit and mope. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of Twitter mutuals. You know, I have a lot of acquaintances that I casually know. However, on the topic of friendships, I feel like I have maybe like 6 friends in this community, and that's it. And even then, I don't talk to them nearly as much as I should. I think there's a difference between like making connections with people and making genuine connections. Because like I said, I don't have many people here now that I have a genuine connection with. Let's put it this way. There are a lot of people on here that I would invite to dinner, but I would not invite to spend the night at my house. So I think it's important to just, whenever you're feeling like this, reach out to those people who you do consider friends and just be honest about it. Be honest about your mental health and the way that you're feeling, and people will respond accordingly. Then someone asked about the perception of loneliness versus the actual loneliness due to COVID and the lockdowns and everything, and how COVID has kind of amplified the feeling of being lonely. And that's very difficult to talk about because I have spoken about being an essential worker out all the time working. I haven't experienced this as much as some other people, but I know that a lot of my people online have been at home throughout the entire pandemic. They've been sitting at home doing nothing, not having any kind of social interaction outside of the engagement they get online and the people that they know online. And I can definitely see how COVID could affect the idea of loneliness that way. But personally for me, I'm still getting my social interaction through my coworkers at work. Like, we're not hanging out outside of work or anything, but like, we're there for 8 hours and we're talking and interacting. It's a different kind of loneliness because I'm very introverted, and this is obviously camera Brody, booktube Brody, Twitter Brody is very different from like Brody in real life. And then finally, I thought this was a very considerate topic to talk about, and that is like, how can viewers help booktubers feel less lonely? And once again, I don't speak for everyone, I just speak for me. For me, nothing makes me happier on here than whenever y'all give me positive feedback on a video. Whenever you say, this was a great video, I liked what you said here, here's my answer to the comment question, because that's a stupid, silly, fun thing that you do to make things fun for us. Here's a yellow heart. I love comments. I love people messaging me on Twitter. I love interactions. I just love interacting with y'all. And it's been hard lately, and I apologize for not being able to interact as much as I would like to. But yeah, for me personally, what makes it all worth it is people telling me, oh, I read this book based off of your recommendation and I loved it, and let's talk about the stuff in it. Or, oh, I like your shirt. I got a compliment on one of my videos recently about how they really like my shirts, and it made me so happy. Speaking of the comment questions of the day, that's all I have for this video. Comment question of the day is going to be, I want you to go into the comments and I want you to say something nice about a creator. It doesn't have to be your favorite creator. It can just be a creator that you've been enjoying lately, a booktuber that you really like their vlogs, a bookstagrammer who posts very well thought out reviews. I just want the comments on this video to be a big love fest. I just want to know your thoughts. This is a discussion video. It's an open discussion down in the comments. So let's just talk in the comments. If you have any questions for me that didn't get answered in this video, you can leave them down there and we'll talk. I love doing discussion videos. I miss them, and you know, I'm excited to start doing them again. And then if you don't have time, you don't have the spoons, you don't want to answer, or you want to come back later and engage, then you can leave me an emoji, preferably a yellow heart, so I know you made it all the way until the end of the video. Or if you don't have access to emojis on your keyboard, then you can just leave me a smiley face emoticon. And if you'd like to follow me around the internet, you can click on that link tree at the top of my bio. It has links to my Instagram, my Goodreads, and my Twitter, as well as places to support me further outside of YouTube if you so choose, like my PayPal, my Ko-fi, and my Amazon wishlist. I'll also be posting downstairs a link to the tweet where I asked for questions and talking points for this video if you would like to engage further on Twitter. And while you're down there checking everything out, you can leave me a like and a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the bell and all that shit, because it makes me feel better. It really does. Alright, I hope you have a wonderful whatever it is, wherever you are. I will see you next time with another video. Thank you for watching. Okay, cool. Bye. I have like 50 minutes of footage. I have like almost a whole hour of footage.